Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Fred Sutton, and in this video I will be showing you an example of a Chapter 5 problem for the review for the Accounting for Managers Exam 1. So the problem I have here is EX 5-17, which is in the top left-hand corner up here, and that is on page 197. If you want to open your book and take a look at that, you're welcome to do that. As you can see here, I've already set up some of the problem already for us. Put some tables together to kind of help organize us. And this will also reduce the amount of time I will be up here and shorten the video a little bit. Alright, so I'm going to turn to page 197. Let's go through the problem here. I'm going to read through the problem real quick and then we will get started. So this company, Halifax Brass Company, manufactures pumps and valves and uses a time-driven, activity-based cost system. Last year, Halifax recorded the following data for assigning manufacturing overhead costs to its products. So what you'll see if you flip over the page to 198, you'll see a table there that lists all the information there. That's what I'm going to be pulling this from there. Below that, it also gives us some additional information about revenues and additional costs that are on top of that. We'll use most of that for the part B of the problem over this area here. So now I'm going to go down to the required here. So for A, it says choosing the company's TDABC system, how much manufacturing overhead costs will be assigned to pumps. So I'm going to figure out the cost of pumps, and then also it'll ask me for the cost of valves. So how much will be assigned to the valves. So what we're going to do is take a look at this and figure out all the information that we have. Alright, so the first part of the table, it tells us what the rate is. So it says unit cost estimates rate per hour. I have machines set up here, and that's at run time. I've shortened it a little bit because of my limited space. So it's going to be 20. And now the next one says labor for setups, receiving, and packaging. That is 30. And then it says engineering for specializing products. And that is $80 per engineering hour. So that rate is I'm pulling from the table on the top of page 198, excuse me. All right, moving on, we will be taking a look at the total unit time estimates for hours assigned to products. So first I'm going to look at my pumps and then my valves. So for machine setups, we have 1,500. And then for valves, I have 1,800. And then for the labor setup, receiving and packaging, I have 5,000 for pumps. And then 6,000 for valves. And then for engineering, I have 200 for pumps and 400 for valves. All right. So now how do I figure out my cost of my pumps? Well, I basically do this. I take my hours of pumps times my rate, and that will give me my cost. So I will take the 1,500 times the 20, and that will give me 30,000. Then I will do this one for this one here. So it'll be 30 times the 5,000, which will give me 150,000. And then lastly, the 80 times the 200 here, which will give me 16,000. So if I total all that up, it looks like that's 196. Now that gives me my cost for my pumps. So 196,000. Now I'm going to do the valves. So I'm going to take my hours of valves right here times that times the rate here. So I have my 20 times that, which is 36,000. Then my 30 times the 6 here gives me 180,000. And then my 80 times the 400, which gives me 32,000. Total all that up, looks like that is 248. So $248,000 and 196,000 for the cost there. So I'm going to move these over to here real quick here, since I already have that. And then we'll get moving forward on the next problem here, but I want to move that over. All right, so that gives us the cost for each of the valves and the pumps. So we have that. So let's take a look at what B is asking from us. So what is the company's net income? Assuming this company sells the entire amount of the products it produces. So we're assuming that they sell everything. So we're going to figure out what our net income is. Okay, so one of the first things we want to do is we need to figure out the capacity. So in the capacity, if you look at that table again at the top of page 198, you'll see on the far right hand side that it says practical capacity not assigned to products. So the hours there. So it gives me some hours for the machine setup. So my machine setup is 300, and then my labor setup is 200, and then my engineering is 50. So in here, what I'm going to do is figure out what we're not using of that, the cost of that. So to figure out what the rates are, remember that's in that table again. I'm just going to take it from right here from the previous part of the problem. So I have 20, 30, and then 80. So I'll multiply these out. So I have the 20 times the 300. So the 20 times the 300 gives me 6,000. And then my 200 times the 30 gives me another 6,000. And then my 50 times the 80 gives me 4,000. So I total all that up, that looks like 16,000. And that gives me my total, my cost of unused capacity here. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of that information, we'll move it over, I'll do that in just a moment, but I want to give you all the revenues and the costs first. Let's take a look at that. So if you move below that table, you'll see that it gives us some additional revenues and labor costs and materials costs. So my total revenues is 890,000 here. So what I'm going to do is, now I go below that, it says total direct labor costs is 120,000. So I'm going to put that over here. I'm going to add up all my costs in just a moment. And then I have my total direct materials cost is 90. All right, I will get to the SG and A expenses in just a moment. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to total up all of this here, all these expenses, to give me those costs. So 654,000. All right, so I have 654,000 we're going to take away from my revenues. I have cost of unused capacity, which comes from right here. So my 16,000, I'm going to put it right here. And then my SG&A expenses are, again, from that, from the book, it gives me 100,000 there, and that's the last one of the expenses it gives me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, minus this, minus this, and minus this. Will give me my net income. So I'm going to take away all these costs and expenses here, and that will give me my net income. So if I do all of those, that gives me 770, or 670, 770 here. Away from that, it gives me $120,000 of my net income. So as you can see here, we figured out the cost of the pumps, the cost of the valves, then we figured out our unused capacity, taking our rates times that capacity that we have, and then we walked through a simple income statement, basically walking through our costs and our expenses, which we've taken away from our revenues. And that comes up with the net income that it was looking for, which is $120,000. Thank you for watching this video. This is Chapter 5, EX 15-17. Thank you and good luck.